The flow of boxing is where you rotate your hips from left to right to left to right again, or the neutral position in your stance, which is like this, to this position here and no further and back again. Every punch, defense, or footwork movement comes off of this simple rotation from here to here to here again. For example, when I'm throwing punches, I'll rotate from this position here to this position here as I throw a right hand, and I'll rotate back from the rotated position to the neutral position when I'm throwing a left hook, and then same again when I'm throwing a right uppercut or a left hook to the body. And this is how experienced boxers link punches together and create longer combinations. It's easy to see that a rotation of the hips to this position is for my right punches, and a rotation of the hips from this position to this position is for any punches coming off my left hand. But what if I want to double up my lead hand or my rear hand? Then I'll need to rotate to this position to throw that initial one, and then from this position I need to rotate back to here before I throw another one. So doubling up, I still use this same flow of boxing, the same rotation of the hips when I'm throwing that right hand in between or when I'm not. The same motion applies for when we're defending using head movement. I rotate from here to here and back again, but I'll take my head slightly off the center line as I do this. A great drill for this is knee touches. Touching one knee, I'm taking my right hand, touching my left knee, I'm taking my left hand, touching my right knee. And this uses the rotation of our hips from left to right whilst taking our head just slightly off the center line by bringing our shoulder down so that I can avoid straight shots coming forward. The same applies when I'm rolling from left to right. So if I wanted to roll to the right, I'd have to be in this position first before I bent my leg and rotated back to this position. Once I'm in this position, I can roll to the left, bend my legs, draw that U shape to this position. I can then flow those rolls and slips together. So from here, I can slip to there, I can slip back to there, can roll to there, can roll to there, so on and so forth. Now we know how we can use the flow of boxing to throw punches and also defend using head movement. We can link them together. So we get in our stance and we can throw a punch off this movement, and then we can slip off this movement, and then we can start to link all these things together. And you can start to see how the flow of boxing works. All I'm doing is rotating my hips from here to here to here again. I don't rotate my hips any further than those limits. For example, if I rotate my hips to here and I go past that point, then I lose the stability in my front and back leg as I roll onto the side of my foot and my knee dips in. If I go too far this way, the same thing happens. I'll come onto my heel, the weight will be back on this back leg, which is wrong. It needs to be in the ball of my foot. I'll also roll onto the side of my foot this side and my knee will dip in, therefore losing stability and my ability to punch. You can also simultaneously mix punches with head movement in defense. We do this from being in our stance here. For example, I could roll to this position, right? But as I do this, I could throw a right uppercut, right? Because it's the same rotation. I'm rotating from here to here, but I can combine a defense with an offense at the same time to go under a shot as I throw a shot. It's the same thing. I'm just rotating to this position and then back to here. Same going the other way. Could slip in here, and then as I'm rolling back, I can throw another uppercut, or so on and so forth. So how can you do this yourself? Well, the first step is understanding it, which I hope I've just helped you do. The next is learning how to rotate your hips. And that all comes from having the proper stance and weight distribution. Remember, we need our back foot pointed out slightly further than our front foot, which is pointed about 45 degrees to in front of us. Then we need to make sure 60% of our weight is on the back foot, and that we rotate our back foot whilst maintaining the weight on the ball of our foot and not coming onto the toe. When we come onto the toe like this, all the weight gets transferred onto the front foot, which makes it hard to rotate back this way, and also puts you in a disadvantageous position as your head is in range whilst your punches are no closer. If I'm throwing punches from here, my weight's back, then I keep my head further out of range while still getting the same amount of range on my punches. The next part is dipping that knee in, so our knee follows the motion of our heel. We don't want our heel to come any further out like this. This will lose stability and all the weight will again be transferred into our front leg. We want to keep it in the direction of the punch that we're throwing. So no further than that. We don't want to go past this position here. Once we go to here, we're dipping our knee in. Our knee is staying at the same angle from here to here. It's just we're turning it. And as we turn our knee into this position, our hips will move into this position, which will also move our torso, shoulders, and eventually arm into the correct positions too. When we throw our punches, make sure they're nice and straight. We bring our shoulders up to our chin. Then, once we've rotated this way, we've done it correctly. Our weight should still be 60% on the back foot and 40% on the front foot. We can rotate back the other way, where we just return all the positions of the joints in our back leg to where they were originally. That is rotating from this position to this position and back again. You may be wondering, how do I combine this flow of boxing with my footwork and movement around the ring? Let me give you an example. Let's say I wanted to throw a 1-2 whilst moving forward. I step, and as my foot lands, the corresponding punch will land. So as my left foot lands, my jab will land, and the same applies for my right hand. As I land my right hand, my back foot will land. But you'll notice I'm still using this flow of boxing, rotating from here to here, but I'm stepping as I do it. So it will still have the same effect as if I was stationary, but I'll be able to close the distance with it. All right. As I go to throw the next jab and move further forward, I'll be rotating back to this position because that's what we need to do for the jab. So here's the first one. Here's the second one. See, I've rotated back to this original neutral position, and then I'm bringing my back foot in for the backhand. And that's how we're moving forwards. We can also do this with the opposite way around. So I could throw a backhand as I step my front foot in, and then a jab as I step my back foot in. My hips went from here to here. We can repeat this process going forward. We can also do this going backwards. Let's go back to the first one. I'll step with my backhand, but I'll rotate first, and then I'll come back to the neutral position as I throw my jab, and I can do this going backwards too. I can do the same going forwards again. And actually I can do this in any direction, as long as I make sure that I'm still rotating from here to here. I can also do this whilst combining it with any defense or any direction. So play with using this flow of boxing whilst you're moving around the ring, and this will eventually be what you call shadow boxing. Now, it doesn't mean you have to be constantly throwing punches and constantly defending each step you take, but this is what shadow boxing eventually looks like, right? Moving around, and I'm just using this flow of boxing from left to right to land my shots whilst moving around the ring. If you like the way I teach and you didn't know already, I have an online community built for taking beginner to novice boxers to elite level boxers. It's online, and it's the link in the description. Yeah, it's pretty good. He just joined. You can see the reactions. You know, there's even people that put themselves on the hybrid map, right? That are meeting up and training all around the world. That is cash in the bank there. All right. Oh.